Confidence is not lightning. It does not strike from the heavens in a flash of divine luck. Confidence is a forge, a furnace, a sacred fire built from the ashes of every moment. You dared to believe in yourself when there was no applause, no safety net, no guarantee. The world doesn't give confidence. It gives challenges. It gives resistance. It gives the kind of silence that makes lesser minds retreat and brave hearts awaken. And confidence? It is awakened, not inherited, not gifted, not downloaded from a podcast or injected through a quote. It is built from the inside out. Confidence that moves mountains doesn't come from being told you can. It comes from proving it to yourself again and again, in the unseen moments, in the dark gyms, in the late-night rewrites, in the uncomfortable conversations where your voice trembled but your truth stood tall. Confidence begins where comfort ends. The first brick is mindset. Not just positive thinking, but the mental grit to face yourself honestly, to look in the mirror and say, I am not finished. I am not broken. I am building, because mindset isn't fluff. It's a decision, a quiet vow to yourself that no matter how loud the noise gets outside, the voice inside will not flinch. Confidence doesn't mean you're fearless. It means your focus is louder than your fear. It means you've trained your mind to trust the process even when the outcome is unclear. And that training starts with belief. But belief is not passive. It is not a wish whispered into the night. Belief is a sword. Belief is forged in the furnace of failure. Belief is sharpened every time you choose courage over comfort. Every time you show up when quitting would be easier. Every time you keep your word to yourself. That's where real confidence is born, in the trenches of follow-through. You don't wake up with it. You earn it by keeping promises when no one is watching. Clarity becomes your compass, because confidence without direction is just noise, just ego, just empty volume with no velocity. Clarity slices through the fog of insecurity. It says, this is who I am. This is what I stand for. This is where I'm going. And when you know where you're going, you don't need to be the loudest in the room. You don't need to prove your worth. You simply move with purpose, with intent, with quiet fire. That's how vision fuels confidence. Because when your eyes are fixed on a mountain only you can see, the distractions fall away. The critics blur. The fear fads not because it disappears, but because it no longer leads. Your vision leads. And that vision is rooted in purpose. Purpose is the gravity that pulls you through resistance. It's the reason you rise when sleep begs you to stay. It's the reason you speak when silence is safer. It's the reason you act when doubt is screaming louder than faith. Purpose is not found. It is chosen, chiseled, crafted through trial, through pain, through the decision to attach your life to something bigger than your ego. And when you live with purpose, discipline follows. Not because you're superhuman, but because purpose demands it. Discipline is the daily proof of confidence. You don't become confident by thinking you can do something. You become confident by doing it consistently, relentlessly, especially when you don't feel like it. That's the trick most people miss. They wait for motivation. They wait to feel ready. They wait for the fear to disappear. But those who build confidence that moves mountains, they act first. They become ready through motion, through momentum, through movement. Action creates clarity. Action creates courage. Action turns doubt into data and fear into feedback. Confidence lives in your feet, not your fantasies. It's what happens when you take messy, imperfect, vulnerable action again and again until the mountain doesn't seem mythical anymore. And as you act, you learn. Confidence is a side effect of growth, and growth is impossible without gratitude. Because gratitude shifts your lens. It shows you how far you've come. It silences the inner critic and turns your focus from lack to leverage. Gratitude doesn't make you soft, it makes you strong. Because when you're grateful, you're not desperate. When you're grateful, you're not jealous. When you're grateful, you stop comparing and start compounding. And from that space of power, you adapt. You stop needing everything to be perfect. You embrace failure as a forge. You lean into discomfort. You pivot. You evolve. You bend, but you do not break. Because you've built resilience. And resilience is the shield of confidence. It's the silent proof that no matter what happens, you will not quit. You will not vanish. You will not evaporate in the heat of life's trials. You will rise. Not because it's easy, not because it's smooth, but because it's who you are now. You've outgrown the need for shallow approval. You've graduated from surface validation. You've tapped into something deeper than hype. You've tapped into truth. And when truth becomes your compass, confidence becomes your current. You no longer force it. You flow in it. You breathe it. You walk it. You embody it. You speak with calm certainty. You lead with silent strength. You show up not to prove anything, but to offer something. A presence, a purpose, a permission slip for others to do the same. Because true confidence isn't arrogant. It's generous. It holds space. It lifts others. It moves mountains not by shouting, but by showing. And when you live like that, when you build like that, you don't just change your life. You change every room you enter, every space you speak into, every person you touch. Because you didn't wait for permission to feel powerful. You gave it to yourself. And now the world follows. The world follows not because you demanded it, but because you became undeniable. Undeniable in your energy. Undeniable in your effort. Undeniable in your presence that radiates confidence without a single word. You didn't ask to be seen, you became a lighthouse. Because confidence that moves mountains is quiet thunder. It's the steady drumbeat of integrity. It's the rhythm of someone who has walked through fire and come out golden, not burned. You stop needing attention because your attention is your power. And where your attention goes, your reality follows. You no longer give your energy to every critic, every fear, every fleeting emotion. You've trained your mind to focus like a laser, to cut through distractions, to lock in on what matters most. That focus becomes your edge. In a world addicted to noise, your clarity is magnetic. While others scatter, you sharpen. While others doubt, you deliver. While others perform, you become. And becoming is where the confidence compounds. Because you now understand that confidence is not an arrival point, it's a way of life. It's built every morning you wake up and choose alignment over anxiety. Every night you close your eyes knowing you gave your best, even if the world didn't see it. Every time you show up for the hard things, without applause, without guarantee, without certainty, you've learned that it's not about the stage, it's about the standard. And the standard you hold when no one is watching is the foundation of the confidence that moves mountains when everyone is. That standard creates consistency. And consistency is king. It doesn't need fireworks. It doesn't need hype. It just works. Day after day. Rep after rep. You don't rise because it's glamorous. You rise because it's required. Confidence is now your identity. It's no longer something you try on like a costumite, something you wear like a second skin. And that skin is made of every battle scar, every silent victory, every early morning and late night, every time you showed up when it was easier not to. You didn't wait for the fear to leave. You moved through it. And now fear doesn't disappear, it respects you. It knows you're no longer negotiable. You're no longer persuadable. You're no longer pausing for permission. You are grounded. You are rooted. You are real. Because your confidence is not built on outcomes, it's built on obedience to your vision. And that kind of confidence, that kind of quiet, unshakable, deep in your bones knowing, it doesn't just move mountains. It becomes the mountain. So when the world shakes, when the storms come, when the winds of doubt try to tear you down, you don't flinch. You don't fall. You rise. Because you are the structure now. You are the summit. And those watching from below will wonder how you got there. They'll ask what book you read, what trick you used, what secret you discovered. And you'll smile not with arrogance, but with peace. Because you'll know You didn't find confidence. You forged it. And in that forging, you didn't just become strong. You became unstoppable. Unstoppable, no, because you never feel fear, but because you no longer obey it. Unstoppable, not, because you never stumble, but because falling is no longer final. You rise with purpose. You rise with pace. You rise with a fire that no longer asks, can I, but declares, I will. Because now, you don't walk into rooms hoping to be accepted. You walk in bringing alignment. You don't seek to be liked, you seek to lead. Not from ego, from essence. From that sacred place deep in your soul where your values live, where your dreams breathe, where your truth stands unshaken. Confidence that moves mountains doesn't swagger, it serves. It lifts. It leads. It loves so deeply, it becomes contagious. It awakens something ancient in others. It reminds them of who they are beneath the masks, beneath the noise, beneath the layers of doubt. You become that reminder. You become the permission slip. You become the light in a world too often addicted to its own darkness. Because the most powerful form of confidence isn't loud, it isn't boastful, it doesn't flex. It invites. It invites others to rise, to heal, to show up, to try again, to walk into their purpose with trembling hands and a steady heart. This is what it means to be confident at your core, not the highlight reel, not the filters, not the polished speech or the perfect plan, but the unshakable decision to keep walking, even with bruises, to keep speaking, even with a shaking voice, to keep building, even when the tools feel heavy, to keep becoming, especially when the world stops clapping, because your confidence no longer comes from being seen. It comes from seeing yourself fully, clearly, unapologetically. And in that vision, nothing can stop you. No opinion can derail you. No setback can define you. No fear can disqualify you. You've become immune to the noise, not by ignoring it, but by becoming so deeply attuned to your own signal that the noise simply fades. You've stopped chasing validation because you already own your value. You've stopped waiting for a platform because you became the foundation. You've stopped hoping for direction because your life is the compass now. You are no longer the seeker. You are the source. You are the embodiment of confidence, born not from perfection, but from practice, not from image, but from integrity. And that integrity, the daily alignment of your words, your actions, your truths, what gives you the kind of confidence that doesn't just move mountains, it reshapes them. It creates new paths, new possibilities, new standards. Because you didn't just rise, you redefined what rising looks like. You made it real. You made it raw. You made it reachable. And in doing so, you gave others the courage to climb. You gave others the strength to believe. You gave the world a living, breathing example of what it looks like to be powerfully, unapologetically, relentlessly confident. And you did it the only way that matters. You built it. You built it when no one clapped. You built it when your voice cracked and your hands trembled. You built it when every door stayed shut and you chose to become the door. And now that you stand here, grounded in that invisible armor, forged in fire and solitude, you see it all clearly. Confidence was never out there. It was always buried beneath the noise, waiting for you to dig. You didn't need a crown. You needed clarity. You didn't need approval. You needed alignment. You didn't need a miracle. You needed momentum. And you created it. Not once. Not occasionally. But daily. In the small things, in the decisions no one saw. In the silence, where your character grew loud. That's where confidence lives. In the integrity of the uncelebrated. The early morning you got up when comfort begged you to sleep. The tough conversation you had because your peace demanded truth. The boundary you set because your growth required space. The failure you faced, not with shame, but with stamina. That's where giants are made. That's where mountain movers are born. Confidence isn't built in comfort zones. It's built in the fire. And you chose the fire, not to burn, but to build. Now your presence holds weight, not because of how loud you are, but because of how anchored you are. When you speak, people listen, not because your voice is the loudest, but because your words are aligned. When you walk, people notice a note because of your pace, but because of your peace. When you move, you don't hesitate not because you know everything, but because you trust yourself. That's the real shift. You've stopped doubting your direction because your identity is no longer up for debate. You've stopped second-guessing your choices because your compass is set to conviction, not convenience. You've stopped playing small because you finally realize that shrinking helps no one, least of all you. Now you play bold. You play present. You play real. Because real confidence isn't about always being right. It's about being real and ready to course correct when needed. It's not about being perfect, it's about being prepared. And you are prepared because you prepared yourself. You showed up in the mirror when you wanted to disappear. You fought for your standards when it would have been easier to settle. You embraced discomfort as the cost of transformation. And now you walk in a power that cannot be borrowed, bought, or broken. You walk like someone who's tasted the depths and decided, I'm not drowning, I'm rising. You walk like someone who knows, I've seen the storm and I became the shelter. And as you walk steady, grounded, certain, you become something rare. You become an example, an echo of resilience, a mirror of truth, a movement without a slogan. Because now your confidence speaks for itself. And what it says moves mountains. It moves mountains not through force, but through frequency. It moves mountains not by shouting them down, but by standing taller than their shadow. It moves mountains not by trying to impress the world, but by refusing to betray your own soul. And this is the final revelation. The confidence you carry now, it's not just for you. It's a call. It's a signal. It's a ripple that awakens others to their own strength. Because real confidence is contagious. It doesn't just raise your ceiling, it raises the floor for everyone around you. You become the proof that you can be afraid and still act, the proof that you can fall and still rise, the proof that you can be imperfect and still powerful, the proof that confidence is not about having the loudest voice, but the clearest identity. And when people meet you now, they don't just see someone who made it. They feel someone who became. They feel the depth in your presence, the integrity in your eyes, the stillness in your stride, the fire in your discipline. You are no longer a question mark in your own story. You are the exclamation point. You are the line drawn in the sand, the standard, no longer willing to bend, the quiet conviction that changes everything it touches. And the journey is not over. Confidence is not a destination. It is a discipline. It is a language you speak daily in the way you wake up, in the way you think, in the way you lead, in the way you live. And now you speak it fluently. With every breath, you affirm it. With every step, you strengthen it. With every choice, you become it. So keep building, keep rising, keep moving mountains. Not for applause, not for followers, but because this is who you are now. Not because the world gave it to you, but because you gave it to yourself. And that kind of confidence, it doesn't fade. It doesn't fracture. It doesn't fall. It lives. It lives in your habits. It lives in your words. It lives in your walk. It lives in the life you've built from the ground up, brick by brick, truth by truth, step by bold, unshakable step. And now, the world doesn't just see you. It feels you, a force, a light, a mountain that moves everything around it. because you didn't wait for permission. You didn't wait for certainty. You became the one who moves. You became the one who leads. You became the one who quietly, boldly, fearlessly builds confidence. That moves mountains. And the beauty of it all? You didn't just build a moment, you built a movement within yourself, a revolution of self-respect, a declaration of self-worth, a resurrection of the parts of you that once felt small, silenced, and forgotten. You reached into your own soul and pulled out something holy, not perfection, power. And now you walk differently, not faster, not louder, but truer. You walk with the grounded grace of someone who no longer needs to be anything other than fully, completely themselves. You walk with the gravity of someone who knows that presence is influence, that the strongest people don't dominate rooms, they anchor them. You are the anchor now. You're no longer drifting on the waves of circumstance. You found your center, and from that center you operate, you create, you decide, you move. And because of that, your life now has weight, not heaviness, not burden, but meaning, depth, direction, the kind of weight that stabilizes a ship in a storm, the kind of weight that people lean on, the kind of weight that lets others exhale and say, if they can stand in their truth, so can I. Because when your confidence is real, it makes others real. It invites the masks to come off. It invites the healing to begin. It invites the greatness that's been buried in other people to finally come to the surface. Not because you told them to, but because you showed them how, through who you are, through how you live, through how you carry yourself in a world that still profits off insecurity and silence. You are no longer a participant in that system. You are an interruption to it. You're the reason someone rethinks their worth. You're the reason someone sets a higher standard. You're the reason someone finally believes they can change. That's the ripple of confidence that moves mountains. It's not about being invincible. It's about being unavailable for anything less than your calling. Unavailable for drama. Unavailable for self-doubt. Unavailable for shallow thinking, small talk, and surface-level living. You've outgrown it because you finally realized you are not here to fit in. You are here to build peace, to build vision, to build legacy. And it all starts with what you build inside. The structure of belief, the scaffolding of discipline, the foundation of purpose, the roof of resilience. And now that it's built solid, tested, true, you look up at the mountain ahead and smile because it's not bigger than you. It's a mirror. And what you see looking back is not just the mountain, but the one who moves it, the one who became it. So stand tall, not because the world has cleared the path, but because you've cleared the clutter from your mind. Stand tall not because life suddenly got easier, but because you got stronger. Stronger in your spirit, stronger in your standard, stronger in your silence. You've become a mountain in motion, solid, in principle, fluid in adaptation. You bend, but you do not break. You stretch, but you never shrink. You rise, not for applause, but because rising is now your natural state. You no longer hesitate at the edge of potential. You leap. You no longer whisper your dreams. You declare them with action, with execution, with energy, so potent it makes excuses irrelevant. You've left the realm of trying. You live in the realm of doing. Because confidence that moves mountains doesn't announce itself. It arrives with presence. It walks in truth. It breathes in alignment. It listens more than it speaks. And when it speaks, it lands. It cuts through the noise. It pierces through resistance. It shifts atmospheres. That's who you are now. A shift in every space you enter. Not because of a title. Not because of a number. Not because of who knows your name. But because of who you know you are. The doubt, it may visit, but it doesn't live here anymore. The fear? It may knock, but it never finds the door open. The insecurity? It may whisper, but your identity roars louder. Because now, you know deep in your bones, deep in your breath, deep in your being, you were always enough. You just needed to prove it to yourself. And now that you have, everything changes. Your walk, your work, your words, your world. You no longer wonder if you're ready. You no longer wait for the perfect moment. You no longer look for signs. You are the sign. You are the living, breathing evidence of what happens when someone stops negotiating with fear and starts building confidence day by day, brick by brick, truth by truth. So when others ask where it came from, this calm, this certainty, this unshakable presence, tell them the truth. You didn't find it. You didn't fake it. You forged it. And in doing so, you didn't just move mountains. You became one. And from that summit, there is no going back. Only rising higher, only seeing further, only leading louder, with a voice built in silence, with power built in practice, with confidence that never leaves you because it lives in you, and it will live in you for the rest of your life. Not as a burst, but as a baseline. Not as a high, but as your home. Not as a mask you wear when needed, but as your natural stated deep, rooted, unshakable. This is the truth that changes everything. Confidence is not a moment. It's not the speech you give. It's not the image you curate. It's the life you build when no one's watching. It's how you treat yourself in the silence. It's the standard you keep when nobody's clapping. It's the courage to go again when nothing worked the last time. It's how you show up when you're tired but still call. How you stand when the wind screams, stop, and you whisper back, try me. It's how you walk through fire not hoping to avoid the burn, but knowing you are the flame. Because that's who you are now. A force, a light, a warrior of calm power. And you know the truth, you always were. You just forgot. You forgot because life stacked weight on you that was never yours to carry. You forgot because the voices around you were louder than the one within. You forgot because you were waiting for someone to give you something that only you could build. But you remember now, and there's no one learning that. You remember what it felt like to wake up and mean it, to walk with direction, to speak without shrinking, to move without asking for permission. You remember that your past didn't break you. It built the scaffolding for your strength. You remember that your fears didn't own you. They trained you for the fire you now command. You remember that your struggle wasn't the end. It was the entry point to power. So now you carry all of that. Every tear, every lesson, every scar, not as weight, but as wings. You carry them into your work, into your purpose, into your leadership, into your legacy. You don't just walk with confidence now. You leave it behind in every room you exit. You ignite it in every person who watches you rise. You multiply it in every soul who's still searching for the version of themselves they've buried under doubt. You don't just have confidence. You give it away because that's the final stage. Not just building confidence that moves mountains for yourself, but becoming the mountain that others climb, the foundation others build on, the fire others find themselves in, and the light that never dims again. Because that light your light is no longer flickering in the winds of insecurity. It's a beacon now, a signal to anyone still searching in the dark that, yes, it's possible. Yes, it's real. Yes, it lives in you too. Because confidence, real confidence, is not ego. It's not armor. It's not noise. It's quiet. It's steady. It's sacred. It's the knowing in the depth of your being that you can weather any storm, not because you won't be shaken, but because you've built something deeper than the wind can touch. It's not the absence of fear, it's the refusal to bow to it. It's not the absence of failure, it's the discipline to rise after it. It's not a single moment of boldness. It's the 1,000 invisible moments where you chose integrity over image, vision over validation, mission over mood. And that's what this world needs. Now, not more noise, not more hype, but more builders, more anchors, more living proof that confidence is not some unreachable spark reserved for the lucky or the loud. It's a slow burn, a daily decision, a practiced presence. And you are that presence now. Not because someone gave it to you, but because you gave it to yourself. You fought for it. You failed for it. You rose for it. You bled for it. And now you walk with it. So own that walk. Not with arrogance, but with accuracy. Not with pride, but with peace. Not with a need to be seen, but with the calm power of someone who has seen themselves and finally said, I know who I am. I know what I'm worth. And I know what I'm here to build. Because you're not just building a life. You're building a legacy. Not of noise, but of resonance. Not of flashes, but of foundation. Not of moments, but of mountains moved. So move. Move with everything in you. With clarity. With fire. With grace. With grit. And know this. The greatest thing you will ever build is not the brand, not the business, not the bank account. It's the you that rises from within. The you that no storm can touch. The you that walks in every room and changes the atmosphere. Because confidence is not something you wait for. It's something you walk in. So walk now. Walk boldly. Walk freely. Walk fully. And when they ask how you did you moved mountains, how you stood tall, how you built so deeply, so fiercely, so fearlessly, tell them the truth. I became the mountain, and that changed everything. But your posture, your presence, your peace, because when you become the mountain, you are no longer at the mercy of the storm. You are the force the storm crashes against and breaks. You are no longer reactive. You are responsive. You are no longer scattered. You are centered. You are no longer lost. You are located in purpose, in power, in presence. You're not just surviving anymore. You're not just showing up anymore. You're commanding your space, not with dominance, with depth, with an unspoken gravity that draws others higher not by force but by example. You don't need to raise your voice. You are the message, and your message is clear. This is what it looks like to be forged in the fire and come out whole. This is what it looks like to build a life from self-respect, from soul work, from relentless truth. This is what it looks like to be confident, unshakably confident, not because everything's perfect, but because you're prepared. Prepared to rise, prepared to lead, prepared to walk into any room, any moment, any battle, not hoping to win, but knowing who you are, whether you win or lose. Because that's real confidence. Not the kind that flexes in victory. The kind that stands in the valley. The kind that still shows up with eyes tired but soul locked in. The kind that holds space for others without losing self. The kind that doesn't just say, I'm ready, but is ready for the next level. Ready for the next test, ready for the next calling, because you've done the work. You've done the building. You've earned the foundation. So now, as the world turns, as life stretches, as opportunities knock stand in that, no more shrinking, no more hiding, no more asking if you're enough. You are not here to be small. You are not here to be second guessing your value. You are here to move mountains. And you will, because you are no longer trying to be confident. You are living it. Every breath, every step, every decision. And that is a force the world cannot deny. Because when you live confidence, it becomes a frequency one that shakes the dust off of dormant dreams and calls buried brilliance to the surface. You no longer need introductions. Your energy enters first. Your presence announces you. Not with fanfare, but with foundation. Not with noise, but with knowing. This is the kind of confidence that doesn't waver with outcomes. It doesn't spike when praised or crash when criticized. It flows from within, from the sacred alignment of who you are and how you show up. You are no longer chasing. You are channeling. Every word you speak flows from clarity. Every step you take lands with conviction. Every goal you set is backed by identity, not insecurity. And when setbacks command, they will, you don't fold. You frame them. You use them as material, as momentum, as mirrors to see where to grow. You've outgrown the panic. You've outgrown the noise. You've outgrown the shallow need to be liked by those who never saw your light in the first place. You now understand. Not everyone will understand. Not everyone is meant to walk with you through this mountain-moving life. And that's not your problem. Your problem is no longer people-pleasing. Your power is people elevating. Because the more you become, the more you invite others to become. You don't need to lift them by lowering yourself. You lift them by rising fully. By being the example. By staying in alignment. By living so boldly, so truthfully, so confidently that others feel it in their bones. I don't have to shrink either. That's the legacy you're building now. It's not about what you get. It's about who you give permission to rise just by being all of who you are. That's why your confidence matters. It's not ego. It's not vanity. It's not arrogance. It's impact. And the deeper you root it, the farther it reaches. You'll see it in your relationships. You'll feel it in your work. You'll watch it ripple into spaces you never imagined. Because when you carry confidence in a borrowed, not surface, but built, everything changes. Not overnight, but over alignment, over the daily discipline to show up as who you truly are, no matter what the world says you should be. And now, that's you, the builder, the mountain, the force, the flame, the living embodiment of what happens when someone stops negotiating with doubt and starts speaking to themselves with truth. You didn't find confidence. You didn't fake confidence. You forged confidence. And now that it's yours, you move mountains. So here you are, standing not at the beginning, not at the peak, but on sacred ground you built with your own hands, with your pain, with your power, with your practice. And in this place, there is no turning back, only rising forward, because you finally see it clearly. Confidence is not something outside of you. It's not given. It's not granted. It's grown. And you have grown it in silence, in stillness, in sweat, in the fire of your own rebirth. You are no longer asking, who am I to rise? You are declaring, I am the one who rises. You are no longer searching for the voice. You are the voice. You are no longer waiting for the gate to open. You are the key. So move now with that sacred fire in your chest. Speak now with that clarity forged from the quiet. Act now with that mountain-moving confidence pulsing through every cell of your being. Because the world doesn't need more noise. It needs you, all of you, fully awake, fully alive, fully unshakable. So build the vision. Stand in the truth. Lead with the light. And let the world feel the weight of what happens. When someone stops waiting to be confident and becomes it.